Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Blackboard. I am Kaira Irani and today we have with us our headmistress, Nanda Pope. Welcome ma'am. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us.
Thank you.
So ma'am, so I remember you mentioning to me that you have grown up around the campus of Bishops. So how does it feel being back here as an educator, as a headmistress? Does it feel like a full circle moment?
It definitely feels like a full circle moment. It feels like coming back home. As I told you, I was literally born and brought up in Bishop School, the camp branch. I was there for 17 years. Born there and lived there till 17. I moved out when I was 17 years old. So my whole schooling, my whole childhood was on the campus.
Okay.
And now I've come right back. It's definitely full circle. I've been longing for this moment. I didn't expect the chair, but definitely being back in Bishops is amazing.
Must feel absolutely surreal.
Really, it feels amazing. It's like a dream come true. I've always wanted to come back to Bishops, tried many times to come back. This was just my moment, I guess.
It's fate.
Fate.
Fate worked
And
in your
destiny, yes,
favor.
yes.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. So, ever since you were a child growing up around the campus of a school and your parents being teachers, were you always inspired to get into education?
Not really.
Oh.
I did not want to be a teacher. I was got into the profession. My parents introduced it to me
Okay.
by sending me to training college. That's where
Oh.
I learned my potential and I realized that this is something that I didn't expect, but it's really like a calling.
Okay.
So I got into the training college and then every step just made me more fond of this profession. And then there's no turning back after that.
Okay. So, before your parents ultimately did send you to training college, was there any bizarre occupation that you had in mind?
Not
Like
really.
all of us do when we are kids, like
Not really. I was
hairdressers
really
and-
confused. I
Oh,
had
okay.
no idea what to do.
No idea.
And that's the reason why I was actually sent to
Okay.
training college. So at least I had a definite training.
Training.
Then later, if I planned on going elsewhere, I could have
Okay.
thought of it. But no, and when I got into training college, Mrs. De Cruz was my principal.
Oh, okay.
So she guided me. She saw that quiet girl, and she realized that I wasn't really that quiet. I actually had the potential to be a leader.
Yes,
and she
ma'am.
gave me that opportunity to lead the college as a class rep in the first year as a head girl.
Oh, okay.
I realized I wasn't that quiet. I was actually bold enough that I could talk in front of a crowd. Otherwise, I had a very quiet childhood. I was not an outspoken child.
Okay.
I was very quiet, one of the quiet ones in the corner. But then I never really had that opportunity to step forward. And when I did get it, I realized that I could take that position and actually do a good job at it.
That's amazing. So as you grew older, you kind of unlocked your potential
Exactly.
as a teacher, as a leader.
Yes.
So is there anybody in particular, like a teacher, maybe your mother, your father, who like inspired you, or maybe like you said that you were put into training college and it was kind of like your calling.
Yes.
But once you fell in love with the idea of teaching, the idea of being an educator, was there anybody who you idolized or you thought of as your mentor or something?
No, my parents were always there.
Your
for me.
parents
They
were
were
always
always there
your
for me.
mentor.
My mom used to teach the junior school, so for the little interaction with the younger children, I used to approach her, get
Okay.
advice from her. My dad was with the higher classes, the senior school. So when I was teaching 5th and 6th standard, I used to reach out to him how to put forth certain methods and ways of teaching, which
Okay.
actually living on a campus and being a child of two teachers, it came naturally. But still, just for support, just for that extra information, if I was going the right way, I did reach out.
That's amazing. I love how you're so completely in touch with your family and your parents, and that's something that I really appreciate because I'm also in that way very close with my family. So I think we are similar in that way.
Very
So, being a mother of three children, three young children especially, do you think it gives you an advantage to working with the younger kids?
It does, because a lot of difficulties which my children face, I try to find ways of putting it forward in the classroom.
Okay.
Because there it's a one-on-one and I have better understanding of my own children.
Right.
So there are children, and my children, I have a girl who's very calm and composed, and I have this boy who's hyperactive. So I know exactly how different children settle in, how different ways of teaching helps each child. Each child doesn't go out to 50 children, but at least to completely different kind of children. So I have tried, when I was teaching in the other school, I was teaching the smallest class I taught was class 1.
Okay.
I didn't teach the pre-primary, but then I used to have my children in the background and find different ways of how I could teach them, and they understood which maybe their teachers couldn't manage to get across to them. I tried different ways and I implemented those ways in the classroom. So I could reach out to the weakest one, and not a very difficult way. It was easier because I already had my own experience at home.
Own experiments
Like
to
an
try out
experiment
everything at
yes.
home. So, like, I think I've already spoken to you about this, but you prefer working with the older kids. Is there any specific reason that you prefer working with the
Yes.
older kids?
Specific reason, there's the rapport between an older child and a teacher. It's more comfortable.
It's more comfortable.
It's more comfortable,
Definitely.
preferably the age group of 9 to 12.
9 to 12.
That's the most comfortable age because they're not judging you. And they're not the kind who you need to run after constantly. They are exploring. They are just reaching maturity. They are trying to explore the world. And maybe they're not so comfortable speaking at home because they will get judged by family members. So they reach out to the teacher. So you can have actually deep conversations in a classroom full of children without anyone really being picked on or being judged.
Okay.
It is such a different experience. You can actually open your heart out in front of that group because you know that they are not the kind who are judging you or looking down on you, but they're taking whatever they can and they're learning from your experiences. That's the best age group to teach.
That's the best age group.
That's the best age group.
So, working with middle schoolers, because age 9 to 12
Yes,
are
yes.
generally middle
Middle school.
schoolers, have you had any bizarre or insane experiences with these children who you never thought could be possible? Like, they must have said something out of this world or done something which you were like, oh my god, how did this even happen?
No, that there are quite a few, but right now I can't really remember. I do remember one very vague incident just before the lockdown where I was working in a girls' school before this. So girls as young as 9 years were starting on their menses.
Okay.
And they did not know what to do about it. And they were talking in the bus. They used to hear other children talk about it. And these young ones, curious to know what is
Curious
really
to
it.
know.
So they approached me during a science lesson.
Okay.
And they asked me about it. And I get them the full story. Now, I am a mother of a daughter. And I would love my daughter to know in advance what she's going to grow up into. Because it shouldn't be a shock or a fright
Definitely.
when she starts on with her.
Definitely.
So I did give this talk to everyone, to the children in general. Girls' school, very nice open talk. It was a back and forth conversation, even though they were just fourth standards. There were 9-year-olds. Many of them didn't understand. There were a few who did, a few who had older siblings. So were
they
trying
knew
to
basically,
question because they couldn't ask at home.
Right.
Because they were maybe kept quiet and this is not a topic to discuss. So we had this nice conversation. 2 years later, it was lockdown.
Okay.
And at that time when I was teaching that class, there was a teacher's child studying in my class. And that teacher was my classmate in school.
Wow.
So during the lockdown, suddenly I get a call from this friend of mine. And she says, thank you so much for giving that talk 2 years ago to my daughter. Because today, when she was, I think she was in class 6. And she started off. And when I didn't know how to go about it. And she was a science teacher.
Okay.
I didn't know how to go about it because my own daughter. And she said, don't worry, Mama, I already know Miss Bob taught me everything.
Wow.
So she actually called me to say thank you for giving that talk when she was in class 4. And I said, I didn't realize it would play such an impact 2 years later. But still, something, and to be appreciated, something just a comment talk that I've done so many times in my career. But when it comes back to you, it makes you feel so proud that, okay, you reached out to someone, it played a big role in their life.
Definitely. And it must be so amazing to see how this young child has implemented everything that you told her.
Sometimes, see, as a teacher, when you're talking in the class, everyone doesn't have your attention.
Yes,
Sometimes
definitely.
you're literally talking to yourself or just talking to the walls. So when I teach in class, I don't like a silent classroom. It's maddening. Because then I really don't know if I'm talking to myself and I cannot talk to myself.
Definitely, 100%.
So even here, when I do go to class, I expect a
rapport between the
conversation.
students.
And I teach literature. So
Right.
it's not really that much where conversation can take place. But then in between, I do ask questions, personal life questions, which is somewhat vaguely related to the lesson.
Related to the lesson.
Just to start a conversation. I don't like a pin drop silent class. That's not the way it's supposed to be. You need to ask questions to know. I don't want you to sit quietly and just gain knowledge when there's no actual discussion going on.
So in a way, you feel that in a classroom, both
has
sides
to
of the
be-
party
it
should
has to
learn
be a
from
two-way
each other.
conversation.
It
And it's
should
not only in
definitely be a
English, it can
two-way.
be in any subject.
Right.
My best subject to teach is history. I love teaching
History, really?
I love teaching history because there are so many questions you need to know and there's so much of depth into each answer. There are reasons for everything and each one's point of view is different. Because we check the textbook, but there's so much beyond the textbook. So when you actually go deep into the topic for a World War, for instance, you get deep into it, you can go on and on and on. Sometimes I'm so lagging behind in my portion because we get carried away with so much of conversation and so much of talking that afterwards I have to rush.
But history is a type of a subject where you can just talk for hours
and
and
talk and talk.
it can just
It's
never
such a lovely
get
subject.
boring. I love history. It
love
was
history.
when I was in class 10, it was personally my favorite subject.
My favorite subject in school was history and English.
History, I can relate because when I was in class 10, my favorite subject was also history. And I just loved studying it because even for the board exams, I would just remember it as a story.
Exactly, that's the way. And if you get the right teacher who teaches it to you as a story, history never leaves your mind.
History never leaves
You can
your
never
mind.
forget it.
Definitely.
That's what history and literature are the best subjects to teach. Because
100%.
It's only storytelling. I tell the children I teach, don't even open your book to study. Just go around, tell the story to everybody you know.
And it gets imprinted in your brain.
Exactly. All you need to know is who said what to who.
Who
So
said
if you go
what.
on telling the story over and over and over, you know the story, then what? Then you don't even have to open the book. Anyway, who asks you questions from the book?
Definitely.
Just ask a question, you should be able to tell it in your own words because you've told that story so many times.
It gets to a point where you can reproduce the story on
Exactly.
paper without even
Maybe
revising
even
it.
better than
once.
the original.
Definitely,
Because you've told it so many
100%.
times.
100%.
That's the way, and that's the type of kind of impact I want the children to have. So they have this love. That's where you develop this love for learning,
Love for
and
learning.
for reading.
And for reading,
Because
definitely.
story learning is a story. Maybe factual subjects like science and geography where you can't really go out of that.
out of
You have your
that.
limitations. But these are subjects where you can love, and children can fall in love with learning just based on this.
Definitely, I agree. Even the love of reading of books gets instilled in a lot of children just because of the literature and the history
Exactly.
classes in school.
But
because
that depends on the right teacher.
On the right
also.
teacher,
On the right
definitely.
teacher. If the teacher just sticks to the book and limits it only there and is very strict and very stern on reproducing what I have given you, I want just that. It becomes too tedious. It becomes too stressful. Everyone can't learn by heart.
definitely.
Everyone has a mind of their own. Let them explore their mind.
100%. So, ma'am, now that we're already talking about history, let's deep dive into your history a bit. When you were in school, is there any teacher who you remember in particular? Is there any saying that she told you?
I
she or he
remember a
told
teacher,
you?
a very good teacher. She was my teacher in class 8.
Oh!
Her name was Mrs. Fonseca.
Mrs.
I told you,
Fonseca.
I was this very quiet child.
Yes, yes.
I was this quiet child. I was practically invisible. I
Okay.
never even took that initiative. It was already labeled, she's too quiet. So no one even gave me a chance. I tried taking part in a choir, but in those days, they never really had auditions for choir. If
Yeah.
you attended, you were there.
You were there.
If you were a loudmouth, if you were famous, you were anyway pushed forward. I was the quiet one. No one noticed me at all. This teacher, I was good at English. My dad was a teacher, used to teach class 8, English and history.
Okay.
So, growing up,
You kind of
speaking,
developed the
developed
skill.
that language ability
Okay.
also. So, I used to write lovely essays. So, based on our essays, we were just starting a school newspaper.
Oh, okay.
And when the names were given out, this class teacher gave my name for my class. Now, when my name was announced, I was in shock. First of all, it was fear. I was never ever was I called out. Was called out maybe to be punished. That was a very seldom. Punished, not bringing the books. Not for talking.
Not
Never
bringing the
spoke.
book.
Never spoke at all. I was so quiet. No one knew I existed. And I was tiny. I was really short.
Oh, okay.
So the only reason I was called out was because of
Because
maybe no
of
books,
not bringing books.
or to stand on top of the pyramid. We used to have a lot of pyramid climbing outside on top.
Oh, wow.
I was extremely skinny and short, tiny.
So it used to be easy for you to climb up and
I
go
was
to the
light.
top.
I was very light to stand up there. So to be called out to represent our class for the school newspaper was like a really big deal. And when I went and asked her, I didn't really ask her. When I went very awkwardly to her, trying to ask her why me, she realized and she actually gave me a nice hug and said, I can see that you are good, so why not give you the chance? Why not give you the opportunity?
Definitely.
So it's played such a big role, such a big impact it's made on me that I try to reach out to other children this way. Why not the one who's no one notices? I was teaching in 1 year. For 1 year, my first year I was teaching in Dastur.
Okay.
I taught in Dastur, the
Okay.
co-ed school. That is I taught classes 5 and 6.
5 and 6. Okay.
So I was teaching all subjects in class 5, and in 6 I was teaching history and geography.
Okay.
So there, we had a concert. It was my first year. I was 19 years old. It was my first year. And there was this girl who was very quiet. But as we're talking to class, as we read, I realized that diction was very crucial, very good at the language. So I gave her a very big role in the concert, in the play, what we were doing. I don't remember what he did. I gave her a big role. And this girl, that fear, that shyness, that insecurity, it came out. It all did disappear.
Yeah.
And she spoke so well, she was so confident. Her parents came and appreciated so much. They said, what no one saw in her, you've just joined. She just come into a new school, because I think that class, the middle school, the senior school, it was a co-ed part of it. They had just started it maybe 2 or 3 years. So she's come into this new school and immediately she's recognized.
Wow,
so
that's...
it's made such, her confidence has grown so much. Earlier she was always a quiet one, she was quite tall. Not like she was tiny or invincible. She was tall, but she was quiet, very shy, very nervous. So with this opportunity, she actually she could find out her own potential. So it really worked out well for her.
So everybody just needs that
Everyone
one
needs
push
that
to get
one push.
to get going.
Exactly.
Definitely, it's always something that I've believed in.
It is a
because
chance you take.
It is a chance you take,
It's a chance you
because
take.
if you don't reach out for that
don't
opportunity,
reach.
then it's never going to come back.
And if someone is there and is incapable of reaching out on their own, it's the job of the teacher to identify and pull that child out. Because if that child is never pushed forward, you never reach there. I was that child. I was never called forward in school. It could have been my fault. I never took an initiative. I just, okay, I am this way, and I accepted it. But when I went to training college, I was pulled out of the crowd. I was given a chance, and I proved myself worthy of it.
That's amazing.
And that's what gave me the confidence. Today I'm here as the headmistress of this school only because of that one chance. Otherwise, I wouldn't have expected to be someone who can be in an office, actually take charge of something.
The feeling must be just amazing.
It feels unbelievable.
It
Sometimes
feels
I still feel I'm in a dream.
Wow, that's just amazing. So, like, we have a lot of extracurriculars here. We have football, we have volleyball, we have the concert that's coming up, we have debates, elocutions. So, is there anything that you, after you started opening up to people, after you unlocked your true potential, is there anything that you loved so much it kind of became your hobby? Like maybe debating, maybe acting.
Being in the junior school, there were no real debates.
No real debates.
Elocutions were there, which I used to train the children. So it was good. They did give me a lot of responsibility to train the children, because not many are mother tongue is English.
English,
Even
yes.
teachers, sometimes you do have some difficulty pronouncing words. So it's easier to reach out to those teachers whose mother tongue is English. The language flows easier. So that is there. Concerts also, since it's a junior school, you don't really get one person completely in charge. Everyone works as a team.
Works as a whole.
Works as a team. So mainly I used to deal with the speakers. I do sing, so I used to help out with the choir.
You sing?
I sing more at home.
Okay.
I still don't sing out in public.
So you sing in the shower, basically.
Sing in the shower.
Sing in the
I
shower.
can sing. I can sing.
You can.
I sing at home.
Oh, that's
Singing
nice.
is my way of getting peace.
Oh.
I have 3 little children at home, and I need a lot of patience. I have 2 boys who are all over furniture. Sometimes I lose it. I really lose it.
So
the
singing is your way to calm
I can
yourself.
actually sing out loud. I walk around my house singing loudly.
To just calm yourself down.
I tell the others, please stay away. Let me finish my song, and then I'll deal with you. I cannot deal with you right now. And I sing. So I could help out with the choir. So there were times when I actually managed conducting the choir. The music part, the music teacher did help out with. But conducting the choir, because that basic knowledge at least of music.
Right.
At least I had a year of your music. So that was fine. Otherwise, this is it.
Do you have a go-to karaoke song?
No.
No?
I have many.
You have many? Okay, that's an answer that I love, because I'm
I
also...
can't give you one.
You have too many, because sometimes the songs are just too good to pick one.
Exactly. You can't.
Songs
choose
are too
one.
good
You can't
to pick
tell me
one.
name your favorite song. I cannot.
You just
There are
cannot.
just way too many. I can't even think of anything right now, because they're all like flooding my mind.
So you even like to just relax at home with a book and just listen to your
I love to
music.
read, yes.
You love to read.
That there's no relaxing at home and listening.
There's no relaxing at home.
The only time I relax is after 10:30 when my children are asleep, and I open up my book and I can read in peace.
Oh,
So
that-
even on heavy days, work days, I wake up at 4. I still at least take 1 hour to read at night.
Okay.
And I just for that peace of mind, just at my time. I
Your
just did
time.
that my time.
Me time.
Yeah, that's it. So when they're all asleep, now I can't really switch on the lights, so there's no real book. But there's luckily there are Books on the app.
Books on the app, definitely.
On the phone.
So you would say that reading an hour in the morning is become like a staple part of your morning routine
This
now.
is night, not in the morning.
This is in the night.
In the night.
Okay.
In the night, just before bed.
Just before
In
bed.
the morning, there's no time. I have little children. I need to get up, wake up, give them, bathe them, give them, make their food for the day so that they're ready for school. It's a very housewife, motherly kind of life at home.
Okay.
But it's completely different.
It's completely different here. It's completely different here. That's so amazing to see the contrast about how chaotic it can be at one place and how organized and
how
composed.
the moment you go back home, you switch on to
You
another
switch
role.
on to another
It's
persona.
another role completely. And you come back here and, okay, I'm the sophisticated headmistress. I cannot lose my mind. I need to stay calm and I take charge. At home, I'm like this crazy mothers running around after the children. It's that way.
But it must be such a fun experience.
It's such a joy. It's such a joy.
Yeah, definitely. It must be such a joy to be able to run around.
Sometimes it's stressful, but when you're at the end of the day, when you look back at it, there were such nice moments. And something I will definitely remember way down the line when they're all grown up and they won't be the same. I'll miss it. I'll
Definitely. So, if you were given the chance to write a book in any genre imaginable in the world, maybe you can even create your own genre, what would that be?
Oh, I've always been a lover for thriller.
Thriller? Okay.
I still do read. I have one book hiding there. When I'm free, I do manage to take it out and sneak it in a few pages. But then with work and with home,
work,
you can't really finish a book.
Definitely.
You can't finish a book. And then by the time you move on to different ones, you get lost in it because then we have apps which have, nowadays there are so many reading apps.
So many
then at
reading
home I'm reading something, in school I'm reading something. In between I'm reading something else.
So you're multitasking
So I'm
between
multitasking
books.
and then I get all muddled up. But what I love the most is thriller.
Thriller.
I've always been a lover for reading.
True crime?
True crime, suspense.
Suspense. Okay.
Mainly suspense.
Okay.
I've always loved detective stories. As a child, I think I started reading decent novels when I was in class 3. My mother was a member of a library.
Okay.
And I used to go and she used to bring books home and I used to read the books which she used to read. So those were all those really espionage books, thrillers. And I loved reading and I could sit and those days when I was young, there were no mobile phones, there were no gadgets as such. And then being in that open school in the holidays was lovely because the school was ours. So the whole evening and morning we were out playing. We were never indoors. And afternoon we had to compulsory. My mother made it a point, you have to stay at home. You're not going out the whole day. You're out. So read a book.
Read a book.
So read. So sometimes finish a novel in one day.
Wow.
The childish ones were maybe 150, 200 pages. Later it went on to Jeffrey Archer and Robin Cook and all those in 7th, 8th standard. Where sit and read.
And they just don't end.
And each chapter ends with more suspense, more thriller, more need to know what's happening next. So there's no putting the book down. There's no putting the book down at all. So I love to read.
You love to read. So you could say your happy place is a library with a cup of coffee.
Yes, and definitely some music.
And earplugs.
And definitely
some music.
Some music.
Definitely. So you could say that your favorite hobby is to just sit with a book and listen to your favorite music.
Sometimes when my children are also running around, I can just have music on. I can be singing and there can be chaos all over and I'm just concentrating on my song.
That's amazing.
Reading is difficult because reading until I'm totally engrossed.
You have to focus.
I'm engrossed in the book and then I don't know, someone could just be killing each other. They have bad fights at home. So at least with the music, it's there, but I know I'm aware of what's happening around me. So music
so if there was a book that you could, for example, for the junior school concert, for next year, maybe if there's any book that you would like to adapt into a play for the kids or even for the senior school as a matter of fact, is there any book that you would love to get reenacted as a play, whether it's a thriller, whether it's a comedy or it's just like...
Never read any comedies.
Never read any comedies, so just thriller?
Thrillers, detective stories. Maybe a detective story would be something
that
different.
Would be something
because it's never really been done in schools.
Yeah, definitely.
Detective stories have never been done. Maybe for the older ones, maybe go into more depth, but then there's too much of murder actually. So maybe for the younger ones, maybe we can go into a Hardy Boys or a
Hardy Boys, yes.
Just that little bit of different thing. Which it's not the usual which we do. We usually do fairy tales, all those little
Disney movies
or
something along the lines.
If I had an opportunity, maybe I would reach out to something more detective based.
detective based. That would be such an interesting experience also, because I don't think it's done
I don't
much.
think it's ever
The
been done, no.
culture of
No.
thriller and detective, and just the concept of detective stories in schools is just not
never
there.
done. It's never done.
Never done. I think maybe only once or twice you'll hear maybe Sherlock Holmes
Very,
or
very rare.
Nancy Drews or
Yes.
something like that
Yes,
being
yes,
adapted into a play.
Into school plays.
Into
actually,
school
you know, otherwise
plays.
no.
Definitely. Is there anything that you tell your children at home, or like any advice you give them at home, which you would keep on repeating and repeating and repeating to your students, or maybe children who just come and see you?
No, that what I do at home and also in school. Be who you are.
Be who you are.
No one can make you feel bad for being who you are. No matter how you look, no matter how you feel, no matter how different you are from everyone at home also, and in school, you are your own self. And
You are your own
always remember, God made you in His own image.
In His own image.
In His own image. You cannot, no one can call you ugly. No one can call you beautiful. If someone calls you ugly, they're calling God ugly. No one can tell you that you're the best, because God made everyone the best. So it's not only me. Yes, you can always say I am the best, but that doesn't mean look down on someone else. And always remember, you are your own person.
You are your own person.
You are your own person. No one can make you feel bad about who you are. So you don't need to change for anyone. I tell this to my children at home, and I do tell it in class, because sometimes there are issues which come up where someone is being targeted, someone is being ridiculed. I did get in once when I was explaining that these two boys did get into an argument, and I told, stop it. You don't need to. Each one is their own person. You may be smart now, you may not be very smart now. But when you grow up, you realize what's your line. And no smart person can compete with you. Right now, okay, I come first in class, I don't have to look down on the boy who comes last, the girl who comes last. Tomorrow that one who comes last may just own a business and you may not.
Definitely.
The world changes. They've just not reached that potential
yet.
One day when they do, you are going to feel silly for humiliating him or her right now, because you don't have a right to judge someone else.
Definitely.
You have no right to judge anyone. So be who you are. I don't force my children at home also come first in class. I tell them, do your best. Whatever your best is. If you study hard, if you're not studying and you're getting 5 out of 10, then that's not your best.
That's not
if you
your
study, I know you'll do well. So whether you get full marks or you get 5, you've done your best.
You've done your best.
Try harder next time if you've not done according to what I want. Try harder next time. But you've done your best for now. Good. Just do it. Continue working hard, working on yourself. So I don't pressurize my children study. They have to study. When it's time for exams, they study. I do lose it when they don't. But I don't expect full marks. I don't expect perfect results. I do get a lot of complaints from my son's teachers. I've been called many times because my son is one of those naughty boys. Just be yourself. Just don't overdo it also sometimes, because everyone doesn't understand. Everyone doesn't understand. And in a classroom of 50, it's not easy to be kind all the time to the naughty one. So I understand the teacher loses it. I lose my patience at it.
Definitely.
So just be yourself, but just calm down a bit in school. Just don't overdo things. But she's still small, so he still overdoes it. Someday he'll realize.
Definitely. So here's a lesson that we can take home with us today, which is be yourself, be who you are, because God made us all equal and God made us all the best. And that's something that I really want to appreciate you for, because it's not easy being so quiet, so introverted your whole life, and then just unlocking your potential so late and just opening up as a person and becoming so free in what you do and how you say and how you compose yourself. So that's something really amazing, and I would really like to appreciate you for that, because it's not easy.
It's not easy.
It is not easy to unlock your potential so late in life. So any piece of advice for the kids who are a bit quieter, a bit reserved?
Wait for your chance. The door will open for you. Don't push it. I also encourage teachers. Ask a child if they want to take part. If they don't push it. Even parents, that goes out to parents also. If a child is not ready to take the next step, you can't expect a quiet child to suddenly stand up and sing a song on stage.
Definitely.
The same thing goes for the older children in a classroom, where the teacher is. Okay, you find that child is good. Now, luckily, I found children who, when I put them forward, they actually, their true ability came out. That's not everyone. Someone may just feel worse or may just ruin everything, their own selves first, because of the humiliation when they come up. So wait, give them that time to grow. When they are ready, everything will happen. Children also, take your time, take one step at a time. Try to explore new adventures. Don't just straight away from a nobody try to become everyone's friend. Take one step at a time. Take your time. There's a lot of time in the world.
Definitely.
There's no need to rush anything. Take your time and just be yourself.
So, ma'am, being as we've already discussed, you have 3 children at home. It is difficult to handle at times. So, do you have any advice for the parents of such young children who are watching at home? Any way that they can, any lesson that they can keep in mind?
Parents just need to be patient with their
Be
children.
patient.
Be patient. Give them time. Each child grows and develops with change at different stages in life. You may have one child who's perfect. Just a dream come true. The child does everything you wished for and is just the ideal child. And then the other one is just completely opposite. So don't ever compare your children. Never
Definitely.
compare your children. Each child is different. Love them for who they are. Let them know that they are valued just for being themselves. That's the main idea. Just let them be themselves. It may be difficult because after having such a perfect child, you have such a troublesome one who's embarrassing you literally everywhere you take that child out. But that is part of life. Let them do it. Let them be an embarrassment. Someday you can look back and laugh at that. I take my son out when there's music playing in a shop. He literally stands there and dances in front of everyone. And I let him be. He's having fun. Just let him be. Let them do that. If it's a tantrum,
Then
we need to take charge
control
and
it.
control it. But if they're having fun and it's not disturbing anyone, just let them be who they are.
Let them be who they are.
Let them sing out loud. Let them dance wherever they want, because later in life they're not going to do it. They're never going to be this free. If you subdue and hold them down now, they will never open up later on. They will never do it.
They will
So
never open
let
up.
them be bold enough to stand in an open shop in public and dance like crazy because they want to. It's not hurting anyone, so why stop them?
Thank you, ma'am. That's such a lovely lesson. And I think in a way that I'm very grateful to my parents also, because I hate to admit it, but I was the unruly child between my brother and I. My brother was the calm one, but I was the nuisance.
Two children are never the same.
2 children are never the same.
But
so
accept them as they are.
accept
And
them
one
as
day
they
when
are.
you grow up and you are more calm and more mature, your parents will miss that naughty little child, because that added to the fun in life. It's boring sometimes having everything perfect. Sometimes
Perfect.
just going out of the way, out of the box, it just twists everything and it comes back as such a nice memory. Maybe it was an embarrassing memory, but so what? You can laugh about it. It's
life
something-
always needs a little bit of
Exactly.
chaos
You
to
need a
be
little chaos.
exciting.
Exactly.
Life always needs a
Exactly.
little bit of chaos. So that's just such an amazing lesson, because I think it's very apt in today's day, because a lot of parents I see are comparing the children,
And a lot of when people are posting on social media, they want the
definitely.
perfect child. No one puts
Perfect
that
child.
unruly child. No one puts the child who's jumping off furniture,
Jumping off
who's
furniture.
having a tantrum. No one puts that. It's always that perfect child who's pictured. But why not have this also?
Why
It's a
not?
part of life. So that comparison, that competition, that my children are best behaved. It doesn't work that way. Everyone knows children are not always best behaved. Even the best behaved child has a breakdown at
has
some
a
time.
breakdown at some point.
So accept it. It's just the timing. A parent has to be calm, composed, and able to manage a situation when the child loses it.
Definitely.
Not lose it more, the child goes out of control.
Definitely.
So patience is the key. You need to be a patient parent to get your child to open up and be comfortable around you. If your child is not comfortable with you first as a parent, they'll never be comfortable with anyone else.
100%. I 100% agree. So here's another lesson for the parents who are watching this episode here today. Let your children be the way they want to be. Let your children be as unruly as they are, so they can truly unlock their full potential when they grow into mature adults. That's such a beautiful lesson that you've given to all of us today. I think here's where we end our conversation. Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a lovely conversation. It was a pleasure to be able to have this conversation with you.
You're welcome, Kyra.
Please like, share, subscribe for more Beyond the Blackboard.